Burnout is one of those things that my colleagues and I are always talking about battling, and I am a person who really loves my work. I get super into it and I have a hard time taking breaks, which makes me uniquely susceptible to burnout. Recently, I went through a long phase of my life, like several years, where I would work really hard, work really constantly, not take breaks, burn out, be entirely incapacitated because I was so burned out, and then like eventually recover and just repeat that cycle. And it wasn't until maybe a couple months ago that it dawned on me that that's probably not the most sustainable way to live. So if you feel like that resonates with you and you see yourself doing that, this video is for you. For me, the best way to recover from burnout is to kind of just prevent myself from burning out all the way and recognize the initial signs of burnout. Ciao y'all, welcome to Making a Musician. It's me, your host, Helen. For those of you who don't know, I am a full-time musician and I make videos here on YouTube about my career, my day-to-day life as a musician, and just like what that looks like. So if that's interesting for you, welcome. Okay, I want to start this by saying that I am not a medical professional and I am just talking about my personal experience. Now that we've got that out of the way, here we go. Like I said, I'm a musician, and I think that musicians are uniquely prone to burnout because the line that separates our work life and our life is just very blurry, and because of the nature of our job, it's really difficult for us not to bring work home because we have to do things like practice and lesson plan. And I know me personally, I just love what I do, and it can be really hard for me to stop working when I'm feeling inspired, which means it's really easy for me to wake up at 3 a.m. and just immediately get to work with an idea, which is really cool, but also very quickly leads to burnout, and that's a very slippery slope. I recently got home from spending about a month in Mexico where I sang The Queen of the Night in a production of Magic Flute. And it was an amazing experience. I love singing Queen and I loved all of my colleagues, but we were working really hard. I was working pretty constantly, and when I got home, I just was totally exhausted, and the level of exhaustion didn't really hit me until the day after I got back, right? And then even after a full night's sleep, I woke up and I just realized I was so drained, and none of the things that I liked doing really were bringing me joy, and I was really just exhausted, and I just didn't feel like I wanted to do anything. Unfortunately, I had felt this feeling so many times and I knew exactly where this was headed. This is exactly how I always feel before I burn out, which leads me to tip number 1, and that is know what burnout looks like for you. Realize how you feel or how you start to just engage when you're burning out or when you're about to burn out. What things do you find yourself doing a lot? For me, I notice that I'm just generally exhausted. I don't want to practice. I'm spending way too much time on social media. I basically just want to sit around and watch Netflix all day. I am constantly feeling like snacking, which is really weird. And I just kind of generally refuse to take care of myself. And these are all signs that I'm about to burn out. Luckily, if I'm vigilant about burnout, which it's kind of like something that I'm focusing on not doing, so I'm pretty vigilant about it recently, I can turn things around at this point and keep myself from being fully incapacitated for the next few days or even weeks. As soon as I show signs that I might be about to burn out, I take a quick little audit of my life and try to figure out what might be causing this. So some examples of things that might be causing burnout for me are, am I not prioritizing fun enough in my life? Am I spending too much time working on projects that I find draining? How does my work-life balance look? Have I taken on too many projects? How long has it been since I last had a break or took a day off? Okay, so if a lot of those, or even just a couple of those, are kind of feeling like, oh yeah, I haven't taken a break in a long time. Oh yeah, I'm working on 5 or 6 projects right now that I'm really not that jazzed about. Oh yeah, I'm not doing anything fun in my life. It's a pretty good sign that I'm on the road to burnout. Okay, so now that I know the signs, let's talk about some of the things that I do and that I recently did to keep myself from burning out. And the first one is no more multitasking. So I'm a very busy girl, and because of that, it can be really tempting for me to try and multitask. And I don't know why I haven't learned my lesson over the years, that this just doesn't go well for me. There's nothing wrong with just like popping in a load of laundry while you tackle your inbox. Like that's the kind of multitasking that's great. But the kind of multitasking I try to do is like answer an email while talking on the phone, editing a video, and trying to schedule a client all at the same time. And obviously none of these are going to go well. If I'm finding that I constantly need to switch back and forth between tasks and I'm trying to do a lot of things at once, that's a really good sign for me that there's maybe too much going on in my life, and I need to take some time to just like sit down and strategize how I'm gonna get all of these things done one at a time, so that A, they all get done well, because when I'm multitasking I find that I make a lot of really stupid mistakes. I'm sure that everyone can relate to that. But also B, how can I get them done in a way that is like sustainable and not going to absolutely tank my quality of life. Okay, so this is a little weird, but the next one I'm gonna call Eat, Sleep, Slug. So when I am about to burn out, I am generally taking pretty terrible care of myself, and one of the big things that I am not doing is like eating well. So when I am working on a ton of projects at once, it's really easy for me to just like forget that I need to have real meals, and then I'll just have like a couple of snacks randomly throughout the day, and that like is not a meal. And then I'm not like being fed, and I'm not feeling like my best little self. When I notice that I'm exhausted and overwhelmed and having a really hard time, first of all, I make sure to eat a good meal and oftentimes a protein shake as well before I start working, because when I work, I'm very good at getting into a flow state and really getting into the zone, which is awesome, but that also means that things like hunger cues don't really like snap me out of it and make me be like, oh, it's time for lunch. So eating before I start working is very helpful. Then also just making sure that I take a break for lunch. This is also great because it makes sure that I'm getting some sort of a break in, which is very helpful, and we will talk about that later. The other thing I make sure to do is sleep. When I am working a ton, I usually will sacrifice my sleep, which is like the absolute last thing you should sacrifice. So when I'm noticing I'm feeling really run down and really tired, I start going to bed earlier. So usually I will try to be in bed at 8 and asleep by 9, and then I start setting my alarm for as late as possible so I can get enough sleep in. And oftentimes I find that sometimes all I really need is just a week of really good, consistent sleep. And then finally, slug. So if I'm feeling burned out and exhausted, there's a good chance that I haven't been taking a lot of time to just like decompress. And so it's really important that I am super conscious of the fact that I need time to just like sit around and be a slug and do nothing. So I will either just decide like, okay, I need to be done with work by 6 every night, and then I am sitting on my bed watching TV, doing absolutely nothing, or reading, sitting around doing my nails, just doing frivolous activities that allow me to decompress. All right, next one, breaks. Plural, many breaks throughout the day. So when I am about to burn out and I feel myself maybe not feeling so hot, one of the things that I do to help myself be a little bit less overwhelmed when I still have a lot of work to tackle is kind of work on a timer schedule. So I will set maybe about a 20-minute timer for working, and I'll pick a task that I can get done in that time, and then a 5 to 10-minute timer for a break. And I'll keep doing this until I've made at least a significant dent in whatever project that I'm working on. And I find that any larger project that I have can be broken down into smaller 20-minute components, which is really helpful. And when you're overwhelmed and exhausted and about to burn out, it's really nice if you can make things smaller and digestible. This also helps me not do the thing where I like kind of go into a flow state and forget to take care of like basic needs, where that's really cool for getting projects done and it can be a really helpful tool. But if I am having problems taking care of myself because I'm about to burn out, that's maybe not the most helpful thing. So 20 minutes on, working, and then 5 to 10 minutes off. Some of my favorite ways to take a break are making myself a nice coffee, going for a walk. I love to watch YouTube videos, scrolling on social media with a timer, reading, listening to a podcast, listening to music, or even cleaning. And these tasks all give my brain a chance to recover, so that then when I go back to work, it's like I have a new brain, it's fresh, and I'm ready to work again. Time with friends. If I am about to burn out, there is a really great chance that for the last several weeks I have had basically zero social life. Yeah, go me. So time with friends is really important. It helps me to recharge my batteries. It helps me to get excited about new ideas. I get excited about work again and different projects. And I just get to take my mind off of work and not like work. Humans are social creatures and we really need to be around other people. We need to spend time with loved ones and family. And it was really an issue in my life because I specifically have a job where a lot of the work that I do gets done by myself. I know that like when you see musicians out, you know, in the wild doing their thing, they're with other people, they're with bandmates, they're with castmates, you know, it looks like a very communal thing. And that's true, there is a large communal aspect to my work, but there's also, before we get to that community portion, a lot of work that I do absolutely by myself. There's not another soul around, and that means that I am very prone to just like being a hermit and not really having much of a social life. Now, to avoid this, I have like a stupidly simple system where I just pick one day a week. For me, it's Sundays, and I reach out to all of my loved ones and I see if I can't get some time on the calendar with a couple of people for the upcoming week. And this ensures that I actually have a life and that I actually do things throughout the week instead of just staying in all day, every day, and working. Granted, I have some really amazing friends, so they're very helpful to me, and like being around them makes me feel, you know, re-energized, invigorated. But I'm assuming that you probably also have people in your life that make you feel that way, so reach out to them. Next one is finding time to do things in your life that you really enjoy that are not in any way, shape, or form work related. So I have regularly had an issue in my life where I'm like, okay, you know what, I need to do something that's not work related because I'm in too much of a work mode and I need a break. And then I cannot think of a single thing that I have enjoyed doing recently that is not work related. And that is very frustrating and difficult to combat. So if you feel the same way, I recommend just like maybe making a list of some things that you enjoy that are not work related. And here are some ideas of mine that you are more than welcome to steal. So, taking and editing photos with friends. I love to do photo shoots with friends and then they get like nice little headshots. It's very fun for me. Going for a walk and listening to a podcast. We can see I really am a fan of a walk. Walking around the botanical gardens. So if you live somewhere where you have like a really cool garden that you can get a membership to, or like awesome museums that you love, doing that is a really great way to decompress. Going for coffee. I also love to crochet, sew, or just like make things. And then this is very random, but I like watching Coyote Peterson videos if you don't know what he does or who he is. So basically he gets bit by like different creatures and he rates it, and it's just absolutely unhinged. And I swear to God, when I am watching those videos, everything else falls away. Nothing else exists. I am watching this man get bit by a Gila monster and that is all I'm thinking about for the next 20 minutes. So I recommend that. And sort of in that same vein, recently I went to the movies, which is something I absolutely never do. I don't think I've been to a movie in like 5 years. And let me tell you, I loved it. It was amazing. I got to just sit in a dark room for 2.5 hours. No one's allowed to talk to me. My phone is off. I'm eating a little bit of popcorn, hanging out, living my best life, focusing on the movie, not thinking about anything else. I literally think that this is about to become a bi-weekly thing in my life because it was just like almost like forcing me to decompress. It was amazing. And then finally, I want to just share some general life boundaries that have helped me to not burn out. Number one being, I do not check my email before 9 a.m. This used to be a real issue for me, especially when I'm going through phases in my life where sometimes I'm just super inspired and I will wake up at crazy hours, like I'll wake up at 3 a.m. And that's fine, you know, if my body's up and ready to go at 3 a.m., I guess I can just hang out. But no work emails before 9, none, full stop. The next one is telling my friends and those around me when I just can't handle any more shop talk. So as a musician, I don't think I have any non-musician friends. Even my friends who are not like full-time professional musicians still really enjoy making music. I think I have one like kind of like friend slash acquaintance who's not a musician in my life, and that's it. And also a lot of the people in my family are musicians, and the one person in my family that's not really a musician still loves to talk to me about music. And that's great, and I love that they're so interested in music and we have so many wonderful things that we can like bond over and talk about. But sometimes if I've spent a whole day at the piano in a score or like working on a music project, when we're hanging out, I can't do it anymore. And so just being able to say to people like, hey, you know what, let's talk about something that's not work related. Next up is not taking jobs that underpay me. So there was a period of my life where I just was doing too many jobs, like there was just too much on my plate. And the reality was some of them I just took on because I was really interested in them and really passionate about them, but unfortunately they either didn't pay or they didn't pay nearly enough for the amount of work that I was putting in. And that was a period of time where I really burned out just severely. So not taking jobs that underpay me allows me to, you know, really put my all into the work that I am doing. You need to have work that can actually like sustain you, and if you're getting underpaid, you can't do that. So saying no to things that don't pay. Next up is not answering texts and calls when I'm in the middle of a project. This kind of goes back to that no multitasking thing. So yeah, it's just really difficult for me when I'm in the middle of something and then get torn away by a phone call that's like, just like not work related, not super important, just like kind of a casual like chat. So just like not fielding those and putting my phone on do not disturb is chef's kiss. Finally, we have being clear with loved ones about when I am working and not available. The times when I am working are kind of like flipped from when the rest of the world is working. Granted, during the week I do get a lot of work done during the day, but actually my biggest work day, my biggest day for getting things done and like just being in the middle of projects is Sunday, which is when the rest of the world is usually, you know, not working. So being really clear with people that, oh, you know what, thank you so much for reaching out. I'm actually not available right now. I'm working, so I'll let you know when I'm done and we can catch up then. Not a problem. Highly recommend it. Well, those are my tips on burnout. If you enjoyed this or found it helpful, feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. I just want to say that I know that burnout sucks, and it seems like for me personally it's becoming more and more of an issue that I have to be more vigilant about, and I feel like that's also true for a lot of my friends and colleagues that I've been talking to. If you're about to burn out, take a step back and give yourself as much time and space to recover as you are able. And I know that not everyone has as much control over their schedule as I do, but see if you can implement these to whatever degree you are able, and hopefully you'll feel a little bit better. Thank you so much. Bye.